So picture this. A football club from a tiny city way up inside the Arctic Circle. A club so small, you could probably fit its entire stadium inside one of Europe's mega arenas like 10 times over. Now, imagine that same club on the very brink of financial ruin, somehow rising up to challenge and actually beat the absolute titans of the game. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a Hollywood movie, right? But this is the unbelievable, real-life story of Bodø Glimt.
To really get the scale of this story, we've got to rewind to 2010. Okay, so on one hand, you've got Italian giants Inter Milan. They're literally on top of the world, winning the Champions League, completing a historic treble. And on the other hand, you have Bodø Glimt. They're at absolute rock bottom. I mean, they weren't just losing games, they were fighting for their very existence, staring bankruptcy right in the face. They were only saved because their own fans started a crowdfunding campaign. The contrast? I mean, you couldn't make it more extreme.
Okay, fast forward 16 years. These two very clubs meet in a Champions League knockout round. And this was the aggregate score over 2 games. A completely, utterly dominant result. The only question is, for which team?
So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth did they bridge that seemingly impossible gap? Well, it's a story about a systematic revolution, incredible mental strength, and just a radical commitment to doing things their own way. Okay, let's dive into this.
You know, to really appreciate this miracle, we have to start at their absolute lowest point. We need to go back to the dark days, when this club almost vanished. All right, let's set the scene. Bodø. It's not some sprawling metropolis. We're talking about a city with fewer than 50,000 people, located inside the Arctic Circle. Their home ground, Aspmyra Stadium, holds just over 8,000 people. I mean, to put that in perspective, Inter Milan's San Siro holds 10 times that many. This is the very definition of a small-town club. So the whole crisis really kicked off in 2009. They get relegated, and that just sends the club into a financial tailspin. By 2010, the situation was absolutely dire. The club was only saved by the local community's Krona ruling, basically a crowdfunding campaign that just showed how much the club meant to the people of Bodø. But the struggle wasn't over. They failed to get promoted for 3 straight years, which could have been fatal for a club with such shaky finances, before finally clawing their way back in 2013.
But then, after another relegation in 2016, the club did something different. Instead of panicking, they decided to rebuild from the ground up. And that's when a little-known assistant coach stepped into the spotlight and changed absolutely everything.
Meet Kjetil Knutsen. After being an assistant, he got the top job in late 2017. And let me tell you, this appointment was met with, well, a lot of skepticism. Pundits all over Norway were predicting his team would struggle and probably get relegated all over again. They could not have been more wrong.
See, Knutsen didn't just tweak their tactics, he completely reinvented their physical approach. He brought in this radical training system, totally unlike anything else in Norway. The week was broken down super methodically into specific physical focuses. This wasn't just about being fit, it was about being football fit, able to outrun and outpress opponents for the full 90 minutes. And this physical dominance became the engine for their signature 4-3-3 style, a high-pressing, possession-based machine that just suffocated other teams.
But Knutsen was smart. He knew that being physically and tactically better wasn't going to be enough. To actually compete with the giants, his players needed an unbreakable mental advantage. The revolution had to be psychological too.
And this is one of their most brilliant, out-of-the-box moves. The club hired a guy named Bjarne Mansverk. He wasn't a sports psychologist. He was a former fighter pilot with over 2 decades of experience. He knew nothing about football, and honestly, he cared even less. But what he did know was everything about performing under extreme pressure. He brought that structured, debriefing, mentally resilient culture of the Air Force straight into the Glimt dressing room.
And his impact is just perfectly illustrated by the story of Ulrik Saltnes. By 2017, the guy was so crushed by performance anxiety, he was ready to just quit the sport entirely. Mansverk worked with him not to fix a problem, but to totally optimize his mindset. He basically told him, look, you're quitting anyway, so what's the pressure? Just go with the flow. Saltnes let go, and he transformed from a player about to retire into one of the league's best midfielders and the team's captain. Incredible.
So with this new physical and mental foundation, Bodø Glimt didn't just start competing, they began to dominate. And pretty soon, they would take their unique model to the grandest stage in European football.
After qualifying for the Champions League for the first time ever, they were thrown right into the deep end. The whole journey was a roller coaster. They got a draw with Tottenham, suffered a narrow loss to Juventus, but then came the moments that defined them. A stunning 3-1 victory at home over Manchester City, a night people now call the Miracle in Bodø, followed by a clutch 2-1 away win against Atletico Madrid. That win miraculously secured their spot in the knockout rounds. And what was their reward? A showdown with the very club that represented their lowest point back in 2010, Inter Milan. In the first leg, on a frozen pitch at Esmira, Glimt just shocked the Italians, winning 3-1. Then, in the second leg, at the legendary San Siro, they didn't just sit back and defend. No, they attacked and they won again, 2-1.
So that 5-2 scoreline, that wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a close call. It was a comprehensive two-legged demolition of a European giant by the tiny club from the Arctic Circle. The team that was literally saved by crowdfunding had just knocked out the former champions of Europe.
This incredible result, it wasn't just a lucky punch. It was the ultimate proof of a concept, a sustainable, repeatable system that has come to be known as the Bodø-Glimt model.
At the very heart of it all is a philosophy they call Varis Mote, which just means our way. It's built on two core pillars, sustainability and development. The club focuses on the quality of their daily work and on developing players because they believe that results are just a natural byproduct of a good process. They actively find undervalued talent, coach them up in their system, and then sell them on for a profit, creating this amazing, self-sustaining financial engine. And the result of this model? Well, you can see it right here. This chart shows the astonishing financial journey. From less than 50 million Norwegian kroner in revenue during that crisis year of 2010, to over 100 million in their first title-winning season, to a staggering 800 million by 2025. This isn't just about sporting success. It's one of the most remarkable financial turnarounds in modern sport. Period. And all of this leaves us with a final, really fascinating question. In a football world that's more and more dominated by unimaginable wealth and financial power, is Bodø/Glimt's incredible journey just a beautiful one-off fairy tale? Or have they, against all odds, created a genuine, sustainable blueprint that other clubs could actually follow into the future?